Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of my hardcore Minecraft series. In today's episode, we're following up real close from what last episode ended off on with the missing two flowers. So today, we're going on a hunt for the Sniffers. Alright, so first things first, we need to get the equipment needed. So it's a stick, a feather, and a bit of copper. I guess that's why it has that little copper thing in the middle. Don't know if I'm going to need multiple, but let's grab our first one. So it looks like you use it on a block. I know it needs to be suspicious blocks, so we're going to have to do a little bit of exploring. So there's two formations that you can actually get the suspicious blocks, the sand and gravel. So the gravel, I think, is mostly out in the ocean, and the sand would obviously be in a desert. So let's first go for the ocean, because that's obviously much, much closer, because I don't have a desert close by. I'll have to go to one of my excavation deserts for that. So let's go fly around a little bit and see if we can find some suspicious gravel. Alright, before we go and waste a bunch of time, let's hide out of the way, and getting all the other oceans, we have to go actually find a warm ocean. It's one of those biome-specific things that you would never know unless you look up. So let's go find a warm ocean, because I got none around me, mostly cold and deep oceans around me. So let's go find one before we waste any time. So the only warm ocean I know is out here at my very first sand gathering area. As you can see, I've gathered most of the sand out of here. This is looking like just regular gravel, so I'm gonna have to go look for one of those little ruins, the ocean monuments or such. So it's gonna be a lot of fly time, so let's do a little montage of me soaring around the ocean. Alright, here we are at our first warm ocean biome, or the monument here. So let's do a little quick search around, see what we can find. Whoa, would you look at that? Already got a sniffer egg, just the second one I've got. A pottery shard and a sniffer egg. Alright, we're gonna have to look for one more so we can breed them. Just so we can have a farm going, because if I ever need those flowers or anything else these guys can pick up, it'd be useful to have more than one. So let's go a little bit deeper. Alright, we're back at our museum, and we're going to take a look at our haul. So we got 1, 2, 3 of the shelter, 1 snort, and 1 angler. These are a lot more common now that they're in all the trial chambers. I've got a bunch of the fully formed pots. I'm not sure if it has any of these fancy shards or sherds on them, but it'd be interesting to do a bit of decorating as well as for the museum. Those will be helpful. But we got our 2 sniffer eggs and didn't even go through. We just found it so quickly. I thought these were going to be super rare, low drop chance, but we've got our 2. So now I think it's time. I guess we can place them in here, and then we can breed them up, and then the extra eggs that we get offhand can be used for the actual farm itself. So let's pop in here, make sure none of our friends here escape. Let's actually check on our turtles. We should have 2 in here. There we go. We got our 2 fully grown turtles, so those are all grown up. So let's toss down these guys. It's a shame these guys always grow up and you can't force them to stay in the shell. I wonder if that might be a cool thing the new golden dandelion could do, where you use it on like an egg and it stays an egg, like for the turtle eggs and these guys. Because these would be cool decorating blocks if possible, because the color combination is pretty cool. So let's do a little waiting for these guys to grow up. Alright, and there we go, our 2 little baby snifflets. We can go and replace these. Apparently it grows faster when it's on a moss block, so I'll be using that for the farming part. But we got 2 little snifflets here. Gotta wait for them to grow up. Look at this one's making friends with our frog. So they do need the grass, which is why I've got all this. It's kind of helpful that's here. So when they grow up, they'll be able to come over here and I guess start digging out all of the different seeds. And I need the torch flower seeds to actually breed these guys to get more eggs. So I'm going to be doing, I guess, a lot of AFKing waiting for these guys to grow up. So I need to stay in this area. So I'm going to maybe do just a bit of cleaning up of stuff. Maybe fix up this hole I've been waiting on. Maybe I'll wait for nighttime and maybe get that phantom that I missed a couple episodes ago. But we're going to have to do a little bit of waiting for these guys to grow up and then for them to also find the torchflower seeds, because then I'm going to take that egg and that egg is going to be what's used to start the farm. So let's get to waiting. Alright, looks like our guys are all up and they look like they've been getting some work in, some torchflower seeds. Nice, let's run around and see if we can find any more. I kind of screwed myself by adding all this bone meal in whilst I was waiting, but now we have 2. So that means we can breed 2 more, or I guess breed these 2 to get 1 more. And we're going to get the new item of an egg. There we go. So we have our new sniffer egg. So these guys are just going to chill around in here. They'll probably pick up a bit more, but it's not too much to worry because I don't need them anymore. They're now on exhibit. I might come back and breed them one more time just to get the sniffer egg, so I have that for the museum as well. But this one is going to be used for the farm so we can get the torch flowers as well as the pitcher plant, because I need those 2 to finish up our color base. So let's go design our farm. Alright, we're up here on my animal floor with my sheep, cows, and bees. And this isn't my most pretty farm, but it's to get the job done. So we've got our sniffer egg here. Kind of set it up so we have all of this. I don't know, I guess I didn't need to turn it into mud because I don't need it because they can go through with this. So I might actually change it back. I totally forgot about that. Usually you use mud if you're using just a hopper, but since I got the minecart, I don't actually need that. I wasn't really thinking straight, so let's toss that there. So it'll take 10 minutes with the moss opposed to the 20 with every other block. Let's actually go and replace all these. Don't need it like that. And then maybe we can just turn it all to moss, because I think moss is one of the ones that actually works for the sniffers. They can sniff through moss. So let's grab a little bit of bone meal. Can't click it. Maybe it's because there's something on top of it. There we go. Let's remove these guys. And that. And then we can manually do these ones because there's something on top of it, just to make it look a little bit better. And once this guy hatches up, he'll be able to sniff, get the things here, he'll drop them, and then it'll be picked up by this and brought over into my chest, which is just very, very simple redstone, nothing too complicated. Don't need a lot of this, just might be nice to have a nice little backlog of those 2 flowers. So let's wait a little bit, wait for him to grow up, and then see if this farm actually works. Alright, we got our little snifflet all grown up here, or I guess not grown up, hatched. So when he grows up, he'll start getting all more of the seeds. They'll start passing into here. But I do feel a little bit bad for him. This isn't the nicest location for this living thing to be. Same with all these other guys. So I'm thinking of slowly moving these guys out of the tower and more into the town. Let's grab a rocket here and go take a look. It's a little hard to see right now, so let's quickly sleep. Alright, now that that's all cleared up, we can take a look around this area, where I originally had planned to have kind of a pure village. I'm going pre-cam so we can get a good look at it, which is still the plan. I'm still going to do that eventually after I do a bunch of other builds and want to kind of take on a smaller project that is just a bunch of small builds, but it has a lot of them. I'll eventually finish up my starter house, maybe make it a little bit nicer to look at, especially since the back isn't finished still. But I've got all this area that I want to turn into Pure Village, maybe this over here as well. But I was thinking maybe I could include the Sniffer farm down here in a nicer build and do the same with the other animals so they're not kind of cramped up there. Those would be the ones where I need mass product. These ones would be kind of casual farms that just look nice. So I'm thinking maybe over here would be nice, but I don't like all this stone. So the plan is, let's head over there. We got one more piece of moss. That's the nice thing about moss. For the most part, if we snag this down here, got a little bit of bone meal, we can go around and we can actually grow all the moss to get rid of all this stone and kind of make it green. It's also a nice green compared to the grass. It changes a little bit. Let's bring it over to the grass so we can actually compare the two. One annoying thing is it grows so much, but you can see how much more vibrant it looks in this kind of stony edge biome. I'm not sure. Let's check. Stony Shore Island or Stony Shore. So this is a lot more of a pale color. So this would help make it look a lot nicer. And then I think I'm going to plant the barn that I plan to have the sniffers in on this area somewhere. So I got to kind of plan the streets or the path that I'll go through here. I'll probably stick it somewhere near the center so that I can build around it and plan. So first, we're going to do a little bit of mossing. So I'm going to need to go and get a lot more bone meal. And we're going to completely transform this entire area into moss. So let's go. All right, and that is a bit of mossing done. Still a little bit to go. I got plenty of bone meal, so it's not a problem. It's more of just it takes forever, especially when you plant it. I'll just show a quick little demo. So this is how it usually goes. Grab a little bit of bone meal. You have to click on the moss, not the top like little carpet thing. It doesn't do ore, so you won't lose any ore, but it also means it won't. You have to do this manually, but you have to always break these bits on top because so much grows, especially these little trees. You can see I've got quite a few stacks of these azalea trees and the flowering azalea. Thankfully, they don't seem to be growing on their own, so I don't have to chop down any trees as of yet. But I'm definitely going to have to go and clear out. Plus, since this is stony shore, it's kind of like a grayed out grass. So it gives a little bit of a contrast, which might be cool. We'll have to see when we get to building this area. So now let's take a bird's eye view. So we got a decent chunk, all of this here. So we might continue on, get all these and go around. Obviously do as much of the stone as possible, but it is a lot more vibrant than the grass in this area. So next thing we have to do is we have to pick out our spot. So I want it to become somewhat central so that I can build around it. So maybe we stick it just straight here where this bit of copper ore is. So let us build our little barn now. All right, and here is our barn, and I've moved in a couple of residents. Actually, one of these guys is from the tower, and something I found out is for boats, these guys can't fit in them. The small guys can, but I waited too long, and one of these guys from the top there, he couldn't fit in the boat, so I had to painfully drag him all the way down the stairs. So as you can see, he was somewhere up around there. So all those stairs, I had to bring him all the way down. I got to use my bridge that I haven't used in a long time since I built it ages ago, but now it is nice and used, and we got 2 in here. So I went and grabbed another egg from my museum, hatched them in here, and now these guys are making more. And I've got this little sneaky little contraption here. So if you check in here, it's actually going to deposit them all in here. So if we go to free cam quickly, you can see I just got a little hopper minecart running underneath, runs back and forth, and then once it gets to the end, it just bounces right off the wall like this. It's a little slow at times because I didn't add a lot of the power rails, but then it comes back up to here, and a couple hoppers pushing into here. So when this barrel gets full, it'll start going to this one, and you can see we've already got quite a few, so we can keep breeding these guys up. And now we take one of each of these, we can go grow these guys. So from what I gathered, these are seeds which need to be planted on a bit of farmland, and in my world, this is pretty much the only farmland I've got that's not automatically farmed. So we got one of those and one of those. Those are interesting. This one kind of looks like a potato of some kind, but we're not going to wait for those to grow up. We're going to push them real quick and then break them, I guess. And we got our torch flower and our pitcher plant. And with that, we're gathering the last 2. As you can see, this one turns into orange dye. So we throw that on here, and this one to cyan dye, which is the only possible way of actually getting cyan dye. Oop. Flip that, I'll have to flip that back over. But with that, my color tree and all these diagrams are all complete. I'll need to get the seeds again for the items over in that wing down there, because that's the blocks, items, hostile, and below is actually the passive mobs. But I don't think they'd fit up here. I think they'd be better fitting in just the regular item area. So that is another thing complete. And now with that, we've gotten a massive thing done. Not only have we collected some more mobs for the museum, as well as finished off the color wall, we've actually started a new project down here with the kind of village of the Pier Village kind of getting started and planned out, with it being all the way over here. This is only going to be part of it. I'm planning to have it on this entire coastline here, as well as using this entire area because it's quite a flat area, perfect for a nice little village. So I'm glad that we got to start this and kind of play around with the moss, see how that works with growing, because I've never actually tried that before. I see a lot of people use the moss growth for just like mining a lot of stone in like a big area, because using a hoe, it is a lot faster than digging it up unless you have efficiency 5 netherite pickaxe and a haste 2 beacon. Then it's pretty much the same speed. But I think that's where we're going to leave it for today's episode. So if you've enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more episodes coming soon. Until next time.